Today, I received a Nintendo Switch Lite from a customer. The problem is, the console is not charging. The customer isn't sure whether it's a charging port issue or something on the motherboard. Before opening the device, I always do a quick pre-check. When I plug in the charger, there's no charging icon, no battery sign, and no voltage reaction. This usually tells me the problem might not be the port itself. I would also test with the port tester to make sure all the pins are intact and have values. You can see from the tester, there are only 1 point from each side has no value, and this is indicating that it's normal for a good charging port. When we remove the metal shield, we can see that the inside is very clean. This is a good sign. It usually means the device hasn't been tampered with or previously repaired. With no signs of attempted repairs, the diagnostic process becomes much easier for us. When unplugging the LCD and digitizer flex cables, you need to be extremely careful. A lot of people accidentally damage the FPC connector pins during this step. To avoid that, I always apply a bit of controlled pressure with my finger while lifting the cable. This helps reduce the flicking force when the connector pops out, and it prevents the pins inside from getting bent or broken. When checking the capacitors around the charging circuit, I noticed that one of them shows a higher reading than normal. This is a common sign of a faulty charging chip. In this case, the Max90T36 is the one that has failed, so it needs to be replaced. like to use a solder sucker to remove large amounts of solder residue because it's more economical. If you try to clear a big solder blob with wick, you'll end up wasting a lot of it. So I first use the solder sucker to take care of the large portion, and then I clean up the remaining small areas with solder wick for a smooth finish. I always remove all the flux residue before continuing. A clean and tidy board makes the rest of the repair much easier and more controlled. I use clear flux to help the 200-degree solder flow onto the trace when preparing for the new chip installation. I actually have a video demonstrating different types of flux, so you can get a better idea of how each one behaves, including the heat reaction and the residue they leave behind. If you're interested, feel free to check out our other videos. I like to use a heat gun to reflow the solder and make the pads even and flat before placing the new chip. This gives the surface a clean, level base, which makes the installation much easier and more reliable. I'm using a cyclone heat gun at 380 degrees with the airflow set to maximum to install this chip. Once you see the solder start to melt, gently guide the chip into position with tweezers. After it aligns, apply a bit of downward pressure. The reason is that the center of the chip has a large ground pad which dissipates heat very quickly. Because of that, you need higher temperature and strong airflow to fully melt the solder underneath and ensure a proper reflow. After installing the new chip, I used the multimeter to check the previous fault point again to confirm that the resistance has returned to normal. Now that all the test values look good, we can place the board back into the console housing. For the initial test, I only connect the battery to see if the device shows any reaction. As you can see, we're getting around 3 watts of power output. Even though this value is relatively low, it's completely normal. The battery's fully depleted, so I need some time to slowly activate before the charging power increases. Alright, the issue has been fixed. The customer didn't mention any other problems, so it's likely that the charging IC was the only fault. Now that the repair is done, let's reassemble the console and run a full test. Before snapping the back cover on, it's always better to power it on first to check for any additional issues. This helps avoid unnecessary second disassembly and saves a lot of time. If everything looks good, we can fully reassemble the device. After putting it back together, I do one final inspection to make sure everything is seated properly. And with that, the repair is complete. Alright, that's the end of this repair. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy these repair tests and board level fixes, consider subscribing for more.